Hello everybody, Jam here, and welcome back to the final race from round 1 of the Touring Car Championship, which features a reverse grid. So Tom's misfortune in the last race means he's on pole for this one, although he doesn't get the best start away from said pole position. The BMW that's currently behind him started in 4th and had a fantastic launch, cutting back on the exit of turn 1 as well, getting a great run up the inside of Tom into Druids, and he takes the lead with Tom holding on to 2nd place just behind him. Well, being a reverse grid, and I started 2nd to last after finishing 2nd in the previous race, so I was going to have a hectic start, having a good starting car but lots of cars ahead of me. So yes, as you can see, we're riding on board. I had a good initial launch up 2 places, but around turn 1 I get a little bit boxed in and held up by a car directly ahead of me, which meant I lost places on both sides. So a pretty average start. As always, it's going to be a good launch in this BMW, but I didn't quite get the run round turn 1. I got fortunate on the exit of turn 2 though. An incident ahead of me, meaning I would gain back one of the positions I just lost after initially gaining it, and I would hopefully get the other one back past the car I got stuck behind on turn 1 if I can hold it round the outside of that left-hander and then keep the inside for the final corner, which I have managed to do. So we're going to carry on round now after actually making up a couple of places on this opening lap. However, the Chevy Cruises were showing their top speed once again already, and yeah, really caught me out, especially the white and orange car. Was not expecting him to be on my inside into turn 1, so I've really yo-yoed around at the start of this race, because I just lost another position. There's a little bit of contact with the 2 cars behind me, but I have managed to hold on and only lose the 1 position. Jumping forward a lap later now to the same part of the track, and I'm defending once again from the dark blue Honda, which was the race 1 winner and the race 2 pole sitter. I think he pole sitter for the first 2 races actually. Anyway, yeah, as you can see, coming out of turn 3 there was an incident ahead. I got held up and somehow still managed to get past the 2 cars involved in the incident, but the Honda behind me had a much better run and didn't get held up at all. So although I got past the 2 cars that had the incident, I also lost one to the Honda. Once again, we're sticking on board with myself, going around Druids once again, as Tom wasn't having the best of, or the most exciting of starts. He was doing a very good job up there in P2, but I was the one that was involved in all the incidents and the overtakes and stuff, as I make up another position with an Audi going off track. And then coming around the penultimate corner and the final corner, the 2 cars up ahead are side by side. Chevy runs wide, and that's another position with a car falling off track. This is going interesting. That really wasn't much of a coherent sentence, was it? But yeah, this has been a really interesting start to the race. I've made up quite a few positions, I've lost a few, and I've got no idea how it's going. Going round turn 1 though, we've got the Honda, the yellow Honda behind us now, who looks like he's going to be having a dive up into turn 1. No, he doesn't quite make it on this occasion. And yeah, and just about hold the lead of this bit of a 4-car train. Another lap later and another run through turn 1. The Honda's about the same distance back as he looked like the last lap, although he's going to go for a big dive on this occasion. But the gap was never really there and contact was made. And unfortunately he's ended up on the inside of the corner onto the grass and recovering very late indeed. Another 1 lap later and another run around turn 1. Something I don't think I've mentioned so far in this couple of episodes, as the Chevy does make a dive work on me into turn 1. A little bit of contact again, but he rides it well and gets the good exit. Yeah, through that turn 1, the front wheel drive cars can have a much earlier turn in. They seem to be quite a bit more agile, whereas the BMWs, we need to take a slightly wider line to cut back and get a good exit. So they can certainly put me under a lot of pressure by diving to the inside on certain corners, including the last one. That was a place I kept mentioning about. I've constantly mentioning about having to defend, but the Audi with his front wheel drive just gets that turn in a little bit brisker, gets his nose to the inside, forces the gap open, and gets past me up onto the start finish line. Unfortunately for the car behind, he couldn't quite make a move around the outside stick. Moving finally onto Tom's perspective now, we're going to stick on board for a couple of laps here. He's running well, still holding on to 2nd position, and although he's dropped back quite a bit from the other BMW, he is still leading, what's this, a 5-car train? And these guys seem to be fighting amongst themselves a little bit. Not so much the Chevy immediately behind him. He's certainly going to be under a lot of pressure in the immediate future. But just behind him, look at that. They're too wide through turn 1 as I'm talking. The Audi's nearly going off into the gravel there. And there is that third car as the Honda goes for a move up the inside in the background. Is he going to make that one stick? He is! So yeah, if those three can keep fighting like that, although Tom's under some immediate pressure... Oh, crikey, where's that come from? That was a fantastic dive by the Chevy. Admittedly, there was a little bit of contact that knocked Tom wide, but yeah, that was a move out of nowhere. The Chevy dived to the inside. See what I mean? Again, focusing on this point about the front-wheel drive cars being able to take an earlier apex, which means they can really attack the beginning of a corner, whereas the BMWs, again, they sort of swoop around on a wider line, which really does leave that line open for these front-wheel drive cars to attack, and that Chevy's done it to absolute perfection on that occasion. And Tom's under immediate pressure once again from probably the fastest car in the lobby, the dark blue Honda. As we said a number of times, he didn't have the best of race 2s, but he won from pole in race 1, he had pole position for race 2, and it was only his trip through the gravel that sort of really held him back there. And he started quite near the back in this race, and he's already up fighting Tom for 3rd position, so he's certainly got a lot of pace. But Tom's been ahead of him for about a lap now, defending rather well, although we get into that last corner, and just like the Audi did on me, the Honda manages to get to that inside and just hold the inside line, force us to try and go around the outside, and the BMW is just not quite capable of doing so. And then once we head down the, well, I was going to call it the start-finish straight. It's not really very straight here, and it's not a very long one either, but even by the end of that one, into turn 1, the BMW does lose out a bit on top end. Anyway, we're heading towards the end of the race now, and we're back on my point of view, and I'm following behind the black and blue Chevy. He must have got past me off camera, I didn't realise I'd missed that. So yeah, I'm currently running around in what I think is 10th place, and up ahead we see an absolute travesty. I don't know what's happened to Tom in this lobby, but he's just had so much bad luck. He got involved in another minor incident, and trust me, it really was rather minor, but he's ended up on the grass. I think he tagged a barrier, and he's dropped behind me to promote me up into 9th place, and John's dropped from what should have been a 4th place finish, or at least a very high, near 4th place finish, down to 10th, but he's not going to stay 10th for long, because I make the one and only even minor mistake that I've made in this entire lobby session. Ran wide through last turn, and unfortunately just dropped a couple of positions on the final corner, which is absolutely gutting. So yeah, that would drop me down to 11th in the end, and Tom would finish up in 9th. But yeah, he just got so unlucky with an instance with Tom. He was on for a 6th in race 2, I think, before dropping to last. He was on for 4th in race 3. But yeah, anyway, this is how the final standings, or the overall standings, look after the first round. I'm up in 18th, and I'm just about the top BMW. Tom holds firm in 22nd, and Ryan from Team 2 sneaks onto the first page in 33rd. So on to the team standings, and like I said, I was the top BMW in the drivers. Virtual Pertec Team 1 are the top BMW team in 7th place on 777 points, with teams 2 and 3 having a pretty decent showing as well. But that is it for not only this video but for this round. So the next time I'm back with this series, it will not be at Brands Hatch anymore. It will be moving on to, I think it's Le Mans Bugatti for round 2. So I will see you then, and until then, goodbye.